The chapel on Moji was not a real chapel. It was a tent, like everything else on the base, with wooden crates for pews and an altar made from an ammunition box draped with a white cloth. A simple wooden cross hung on the canvas wall, tilting slightly whenever the wind blew. Lieutenant Colonel James O'Brien Chaplain O'Brien to the men, just Padre to those who knew him, knelt before that cross at 3 a.m., his rosary beads slipping through his fingers. He had been praying for hours, but the words felt hollow tonight. The day had been bad. The worst yet, he had buried 7 men that afternoon. 7 boys, really 18, 19, 20 years old, lowered into the mud of Moji with nothing but a prayer and a folded flag. He had written 7 letters to mothers, fathers, wives, sweethearts. He had held the hands of dying men and whispered words of comfort he wasn't sure he believed anymore. Padre? James looked up to see Sergeant Mike Kowalski standing in the tent entrance, his helmet in his hands. Mike was a big man, a farmer from Wisconsin who could lift a mortar tube by himself. But tonight he looked small. "Come in, Mike," James said, rising stiffly. "What brings you here at this hour?" Mike shuffled forward, his boots loud on the wooden crates. He stopped before the altar, staring at the cross as if it might offer answers. "I ain't much for church, Padre," he said quietly. "Back home, I only went for weddings and funerals. But tonight," he trailed off. James waited. He had learned that silence was often more powerful than words. "My brother," Mike finally said. "Tony. He's in the infantry. He was on patrol yesterday. They hit an ambush." His voice cracked. "I heard this morning. He's missing. They don't know if he's alive or dead, or captured." James felt the weight of those words. He had heard them before, too many times. "I'm sorry, Mike," he said. "Truly sorry." Mike nodded, not trusting his voice. He stood there for a long moment, then looked at James with desperate eyes. Can you pray for him? I don't know how. I never learned the right words, but you know them. You know the words." James put a hand on Mike's shoulder. "Sit with me," he said. They sat together on a crate, 2 men in a tent chapel, while the war rumbled on outside. James didn't pull out a prayer book. He didn't recite anything formal. Instead, he just talked to God, to Mike, to whoever might be listening. "Lord," he said, his voice low and steady, "you know Tony. You made him. You know his laugh, his fears, his dreams. You know his mother, who's probably awake right now, 3,000 miles away, staring at the ceiling and praying the same prayer we're praying." Mike's shoulders shook, but he didn't make a sound. "Watch over him, Lord," James continued, "wherever he is. In the jungle, in the dark, in fear or in pain, be with him. And if he's already with you," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "then hold him close. Let him know he was loved. Let him know his brother came looking for him tonight." When the prayer ended, Mike sat in silence for a long time. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph, 2 boys in overalls, standing in a cornfield, squinting into the sun. "That's us," Mike said, pointing. "Summer of '38. Tony just turned 16. I was 14. We'd been working the field since dawn, but Pa made us stop for the picture. Tony complained the whole time. Said he had better things to do." A tear slid down his cheek. He was always complaining, but he was always there. James looked at the photograph, then at Mike. "Would you leave this here?" he asked gently. "Just for tonight? I'll keep it on the altar. Tony will be in good company." Mike nodded, placing the photo on the ammunition box altar. He stood up, suddenly aware of the hour, of the war waiting outside. "Thank you, Padre," he said. "I still don't know the words, but I think someone heard." James smiled a tired, genuine smile. "Someone always does, Mike. That's the thing about prayer. You don't need the right words. You just need to show up. Mike left, disappearing into the darkness. James returned to his knees before the altar, the photograph of 2 farm boys now beside the cross. He picked up his rosary again, but he didn't pray. Instead, he just sat there, keeping vigil with Tony and Mike and all the other boys who had passed through this tent. Outside, the war continued. But inside, for a few sacred hours, there was peace.